His parents died because of her mother's wickedness. Now, that same woman is at death's door, begging for her life. Will he show mercy, or will he finally get his revenge? Don't blink. This story will leave you speechless. Hello, my wonderful friends and family. Welcome to another exciting movie journey with us. Get ready as we bring you the full gist about this very interesting Nigerian movie, filled with hidden morals and exciting life lessons that we will reveal today. Don't go anywhere. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the ride with us. Make sure to subscribe because we have lots of exciting movie goodies coming your way. Without further ado, let's get started. A beautiful young lady named Durotimi came into the house and found her mother groaning in pain. She immediately called out for someone to help. A few hours later, Durotimi is at the hospital with her friend Nike as the doctor checks on her mother. The doctor informs Durotimi that her mother is suffering from severe pneumonia, which has led to a serious lung infection, and she will need to be transferred to the ICU. He also tells Durotimi that the treatment will cost 700,000 naira per day. Durotimi laughs when she hears the amount, then starts calculating how much she will need on a weekly basis. She doesn't know where to get the money. Nike suggests that she ask her family for assistance, but Durotimi explains that she has no family members who can help her with such an amount. Later that same day, Durotimi goes to see a friend named Yusuf, hoping he can assist her. However, the moment Yusuf sees Durotimi, he is already offended. Durotimi explains why she came to see him, but he refuses to help. She kneels down and begs him, and Yusuf sarcastically tells her that if she kneels for an extra 3 hours, he might consider helping her. Then he goes inside his house. As soon as Yusuf enters his house, Durotimi stands up, ready to leave. But after a moment, she turns back and kneels again, tears filling her eyes. An hour later, she is still kneeling, shivering from the cold that has seeped into her body. She encourages herself, saying that there are just 2 hours left. She can do it, despite the cold weather. Just wondering, what could make Yusuf so cold toward Durotimi, leaving her to kneel outside his house without a shred of conscience? Let's continue and see what happens next. Inside his room, Yusuf starts talking to himself about how life has turned around. Now, Durotimi is the one asking for his help to save her mother. Then, Yusuf flashes back to their teenage years, remembering how Durotimi's mother was wicked, heartless, and abusive toward him and his parents. He recalls how his father, who worked for Durotimi's family, lost his life as a result. Yusuf harbors deep resentment toward Durotimi's parents. 3 hours later, Yusuf comes out and tells Durotimi to follow him inside. Once inside, Durotimi starts telling Yusuf how much God has blessed him. Then, she pleads with him again, explaining why she desperately needs his financial assistance. Durotimi acknowledges that she knows how badly her parents, especially her mother, treated him and his family. She sincerely apologizes for their actions. Finally, Yusuf promises to help Durotimi with the money, but on one condition: she must work for him. Then, Yusuf reveals that he deals in hard drugs. Durotimi kneels down, begging him. She can't do it. Then Yusuf told Durotimi that he has girlfriends on his payroll and wants her to apply as one. Durotimi agreed. The next day, Durotimi took action and wrote a letter applying for the role of a girlfriend. This is hilarious. It feels like Yusuf just wants to make Durotimi suffer for all the hurt her family caused him over the years. Later that night, Yusuf gave Durotimi a paper to sign, outlining the agreement and her responsibilities. Durotimi read through it and signed. The next day, Durotimi went to the hospital to see her mother and deposited money for her treatment. The doctor informed her that her mother was responding to treatment quickly. Meanwhile, that same day, Yusuf distributed his drugs to his workers for sale. He also informed them about a new lady joining them soon and instructed them to treat her well. The next day, Durotimi told Nike about how Yusuf assisted her financially and that she would be working for him in his house. However, she didn't reveal the type of job she would be doing. She also thanked Nike for standing by her. Meanwhile, back at Yusuf's place, 2 of his workers, Jenny and Susie, were talking by the poolside. Out of curiosity, Jenny asked Susie what she thought about the relationship between Yusuf and the new girl joining them. Susie simply told Jenny to mind her business and focus on why she was there. A few days later, Yusuf and his ladies were at the poolside when Durotimi arrived. Yusuf asked the ladies to introduce themselves to her, and they all did. Afterward, Durotimi was shown to her room. While she was unpacking, Jenny walked in with a sassy attitude and spoke to Durotimi rudely, sounding as if Durotimi was there to steal her man. Then she stomped out of the room. The next morning, Durotimi confronted Jenny, warning her to watch how she spoke to her because she had no idea what Jenny's relationship with Yusuf was. While they were still talking, Yusuf walked in. Noticing how Durotimi was dressed, he told her to go and change. The unexpected and embarrassing moment happened to Durotimi. If only she knew what was coming next. A few minutes later, Durotimi returned, dressed in a gorgeous black outfit with heels. Yusuf couldn't resist staring at her, while Jenny and the other ladies felt intimidated. Then, to everyone's shock, Yusuf told Durotimi that she would be the maid in the house. He then left for his room while Jenny, Susie, and Osas burst into laughter. Durotimi felt embarrassed and walked to her room, where she started crying. She knew she looked too good to be a housemaid, but she had no choice but to accept it. The next day, Durotimi resumed her duties as a housemaid, cleaning dishes and preparing breakfast. After all the work, she served herself a plate of food and a glass of drink. Just then, Jenny walked in, asking if the food was ready, and reminding Durotimi that she was supposed to serve everyone, as they all ate together. Durotimi continued eating, but Jenny, being petty, took her food away and went upstairs. Durotimi was offended but kept it all in. While they were eating, Susie finished her meal and left her plate on the table. Durotimi asked if she wasn't going to clear her plate, but Susie ignored her and walked away. Then Yusuf reminded Durotimi that clearing the table after meals was her responsibility. She started nagging, and Yusuf asked if she had a problem with it. She kept quiet. Jenny then mockingly reminded Durotimi that she was just a maid in the house. Durotimi sat there, staring. Later, Durotimi went to Yusuf's room to ask if he brought her to his house just to humiliate her. Yusuf asked how he was humiliating her, then shouted at her to leave his room. Durotimi went to her room and cried. What do you think? Should Durotimi continue enduring this treatment, or should she stand up for herself? Let's hear your thoughts. The next day, while cleaning Yusuf's room, Durotimi opened one of his drawers and saw a bag of hard drugs. She quickly closed it and went to wash her hands. Later that day, Durotimi brought Yusuf a glass of warm milk mixed with honey. Yusuf was surprised and asked why she brought it. Durotimi explained that it helps with sleep and shared how her mother struggled with sleeping, so she always prepared warm milk with honey for her. Upon hearing this, Yusuf got upset and threw the milk away. Angry, Durotimi questioned what kind of person he had become. Yusuf told her he didn't want to hear anything about her mother. That night, Yusuf struggled to sleep. He told Jenny to bring him a glass of warm milk with honey, and she did. He was finally able to sleep. The next morning, Durotimi entered Yusuf's room to clean. She was about to wake him when Jenny stopped her, saying he was still sleeping. Then, Durotimi noticed the empty glass of milk on the nightstand. She smiled and quietly left the room. Later that night, Yusuf came downstairs and saw Durotimi studying. Surprised, he asked if she hadn't finished school. She told him she had dropped out. With his usual saucy attitude, Yusuf told her to clear the table because he was expecting guests. She did as he asked. The next day, a woman came begging Yusuf for money to pay her children's school fees. Without hesitation, he agreed and even enrolled them in his scholarship program. The woman was so grateful that she held onto Yusuf's legs. Durotimi, watching everything, was deeply touched. She realized that despite everything, Yusuf was a kind person. Later, Durotimi visited her mother in the hospital. With tears in her eyes, she spoke to her mother, who was still in a coma, telling her how kind and generous Yusuf was, despite the way her family had treated him. That evening, back at Yusuf's place, Durotimi had a heart-to-heart conversation with Susie about her mother's condition and the debts she owed. She admitted she didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Yusuf overheard the conversation from a distance and quietly walked away. Susie comforted Durotimi. Later that night, Yusuf sat lost in thought, wondering how he could get Durotimi out of his house. Seeing her every day seemed to reopen wounds from the past that refused to heal. The next day, after cooking and cleaning, Durotimi went to her room and found the door locked. Frustrated, she asked Jenny if she was the one who locked it. Jenny denied it. Durotimi then went to Yusuf and told him someone had locked her out of her room and that she needed to bathe. Yusuf, barely paying attention, told her to figure it out herself and walked away. A few minutes later, Durotimi came to the dining table wearing one of Yusuf's shirts. Yusuf couldn't resist staring at her. Jenny, on the other hand, was filled with jealousy. As Durotimi tried to sit down, Jenny pulled the chair away, making her fall to the floor. Jenny burst into laughter. Without saying a word, Durotimi stood up, took her food, and began eating. But Yusuf couldn't stop looking at her. What do you think? Should Durotimi continue enduring Jenny's jealousy, or should she confront her? Let's hear your thoughts. The next day, Yusuf sat in his living room, briefing his team about a deal with some Malaysian guys. He instructed them to stay focused, as the deal would take place in the house. Susie quickly expressed her concerns, saying she had a bad feeling about the deal happening there. Jenny objected, insisting that whatever the boss decided was final. Yusuf then told both Jenny and Susie to get ready for the deal. A few hours later, Yusuf sent for Durotimi and told her to pack her things and leave because he wasn't comfortable having her in the house. Durotimi stood there in shock and reminded him about the agreement they both signed. She told him she couldn't leave because her mother was still in the hospital. Angry, Yusuf threw a bag of money at her, telling her to take it and go. Durotimi then said she knew her family had hurt him badly, but she didn't understand why he was still so angry. Yusuf revealed that she was in his house because she had a mother to save, but he, on the other hand, had lost both parents because of what her family did. He explained that his mother died of heartbreak after his father's death. Durotimi felt sympathetic and apologized to him. Later, Durotimi approached Yusuf again and told him she wasn't leaving because she saw everyone in the house as family. Yusuf then told her about the business deal that would take place in the house and said he wanted her to leave because he didn't want to endanger her life. Durotimi advised him to move the deal elsewhere. Yusuf considered her advice and called Susie to inform her about the change of plans. Susie later told Jenny that Yusuf had decided not to hold the deal in the house anymore. Jenny, hearing this, became worried as if she had wanted something bad to happen. A few hours later, Jenny came downstairs, made a phone call, and informed someone that Yusuf had changed the location for the deal. She told them she would send the new address once she got to the location, unaware that Durotimi had overheard everything. Guys, what do you think? Could Jenny be the black sheep in Yusuf's team? It looks like she's spying on him. Let's see how everything unfolds. Durotimi stepped out of her hiding place, wondering who Jenny was talking to. She was sure Yusuf carefully vetted the people he worked with. She then went back to her work. Later that night, the ladies were celebrating after a successful deal. Yusuf then told Durotimi that she would be sleeping in his bed with him for the night. Durotimi was surprised, while Jenny, clearly upset, sat down in silence. I guess Jenny really has feelings for Yusuf because she watches over him like a hawk. Durotimi joined Yusuf in bed but noticed he couldn't sleep. She offered to massage him. At first, Yusuf refused, but she assured him it would help him sleep. She went ahead with the massage, and soon he relaxed and dozed off. The next morning, Jenny and Durotimi were in the kitchen when Yusuf came downstairs, hugged Durotimi from behind, and thanked her for helping him sleep. He then kissed her, and she reciprocated. Jenny was consumed with jealousy. The next day, Yusuf gave his team some drugs to sell and told Jenny to go with Susie. However, Jenny insisted on going alone, and Susie supported her decision. They left together. Guys, Jenny is working with the police. She's spying on Yusuf and feeding them information. She told the police officer about a new consignment Yusuf was bringing into the house, saying that would be the best time to arrest him. Later that day, Yusuf returned home with a suitcase full of illicit drugs. Jenny welcomed him, and he went to his room. Meanwhile, Durotimi received a call from the doctor, informing her that her mother had woken up from the coma. Overjoyed, she rushed out of the house. A few hours later, Yusuf came downstairs and asked Jenny where Durotimi was. Jenny told him that she had run out after receiving a call from someone. While they were talking, the police officer who was earlier seen with Jenny entered Yusuf's house with his men, who were now handcuffed. She showed Yusuf a search warrant stating that she had received information about illicit drugs in the house. Jenny stood there, pretending as if she had nothing to do with it. The police officer and one of her men searched Yusuf's room first and then the rest of the house, but they couldn't find anything incriminating. They apologized to Yusuf and left. Susie felt relieved when nothing was found, while Jenny, pretending to be concerned, asked Yusuf where the suitcase of drugs was. Yusuf simply told her it was safe and walked away. Later, Jenny met up with the police officer and insisted that she had seen Yusuf bring the suitcase home. The officer warned Jenny to be careful because she was likely being watched now. Then she left. At the hospital, Durotimi was overjoyed to see her mother awake. She hugged her and also hugged Nike. Durotimi then told her mother that Yusuf had helped her with the money to cover all the medical expenses. However, her mother, instead of showing appreciation, said that Yusuf wasn't the one who gave her a second chance at life. Jesus did. Despite the second chance she believed Jesus had given her, she still held deep resentment toward Yusuf. Durotimi's mother then became judgmental, asking her why she was unequally yoked with an unbeliever, referring to Yusuf. She insisted that Durotimi cut ties with him. Nike's facial expression showed disbelief at what Durotimi's mother was saying. Later that night, Durotimi returned to Yusuf's house with a suitcase of drugs. She told him that, yes, he had saved her mother's life, but in return, she had saved him from being arrested and sent to prison. Now they were even. She then informed him that her mother was awake and that she wanted to go back home. Yusuf asked her why she had helped him. Durotimi explained that she had overheard Jenny talking to the police, so she quickly went into his room, took the bag, and left the house with it before the police arrived. Durotimi then went to get her luggage and advised Yusuf to leave the drug business and do something else. Before she left, Yusuf held her and kissed her one last time. Guys, will this be the last time Yusuf and Durotimi see each other? Leave your thoughts in the comments. After Durotimi left, Yusuf was no longer himself. Jenny, unaware that Yusuf now knew the truth, invited him to eat, but he told her he wasn't hungry. She kept pestering him, but he ignored her until she eventually gave up and left him alone. The next morning, Jenny told Susie that she didn't understand Yusuf anymore because ever since Durotimi left, he hadn't been himself. Susie simply told her to let it go because the heart wants what it wants. Meanwhile, that same morning, Durotimi was cleaning the house when a thought of Yusuf crossed her mind. She tried to call him, but she couldn't. The next day, Yusuf called a meeting with his team. He reminded each of them how he had met and helped them. Then, he went on to say that someone among them had betrayed him. Jenny, being too fast to speak, said it was obvious that Durotimi was the one who tried to ruin everything and betray Yusuf. But Yusuf then told everyone that Jenny was actually the one who had betrayed him. Jenny knelt down and begged for forgiveness, explaining how the police officer caught her selling drugs on the streets and forced her to become an informant so she wouldn't be locked up in jail. She then started confessing her love for Yusuf, but Susie cut her short and told Jenny that she was selfish for putting everyone's lives at risk. Drowned in her own illusions, Jenny went on about how she did everything to make Yusuf happy until Durotimi came into the picture and ruined everything for her. Fed up with Jenny's complaints, Yusuf gave her a slap across the face and ordered his men to take her away. Later, Yusuf was outside with his team. Jenny's face was swollen from the beating she had received. Yusuf then told his team that he no longer wanted to do the drug business and would focus on something legal instead. He also informed them that he had sent 30 million naira to each of their accounts so they could move on with their lives. As for Jenny, he told her that he had nothing for her. He also said that her blood would not be on his hands and that she was free to do whatever she wanted. Then he walked away. The next day, Durotimi's mother started speaking harshly about Yusuf and his deceased parents. Fed up with her mother's hatred toward Yusuf, Durotimi stood up for him and defended him. Then, she packed her things and left the house. Later that day, Durotimi went to see Yusuf. She apologized for how her family had treated him and his parents, especially her mother, and asked for his forgiveness. Yusuf forgave her and her parents. They talked for a while, shared a kiss, and professed their love for each other. A few days later, Nike packed her things and told Durotimi's mother that she was leaving. Durotimi's mother, still unremorseful, asked Nike not to go, saying she would be lonely since Durotimi had chosen a man over her. Nike, being sincere, told Durotimi's mother that she had done terrible things and showed no remorse. She then advised her to go and ask for forgiveness from both Durotimi and Yusuf. The next day, Durotimi's mother went to Yusuf to apologize. Seeing her again brought back painful memories for Yusuf, but he chose to let it go and forgave her. Durotimi also forgave her mother, and they all embraced each other. We've come to the end of this beautiful movie. Thank you for joining us in this exciting episode. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell for more interesting and fascinating episodes like this. Till we meet again, goodbye.